Nerdrotic.com.
After an abysmal 2022 for Tinseltown, we didn't think things could possibly get any worse. Then 2023 came along and said, hold my Bud Light. Race swapping historical figures, multiple historic flops, and putting a chick in it and making her gay and lame.
Put a chick in it and make her lame and gay!
There is so much to choose from, it made it difficult to get this list down to a reasonable number. But not to worry, Nerdrotic is back and we have assembled a team with a unique set of skills to do the math and massage the analytics. Let's go over the top 5 woke Hollywood disasters of 2023. Since this is our channel and we can do what we want, we're gonna start with number 6, The Witcher Season 3.
They're all searching for you, Ciri.
You are the key to everything, Cirilla.
It's Cirilla! Ciri!
Ciri! Where's the girl?
Where's Ciri?
He's looking for Ciri. I need to find Ciri. Where is Cirilla? Have you seen Cirilla? Ciri! Where are you, Ciri?
Ciri, are you here? We're looking for Ciri.
You where the are you?
With the shift of the showrunner's vision where it's an ensemble cast more so than a singular lead, and the perspectives is shifted to be almost more of a Cirilla Yennefer perspective. And so it's about finding my character's place within that vision and making sure that I do everything I can to be as faithful to the source material as possible within the structure set out for me.
After Netflix ignored the not-so-subtle warnings from Henry Cavill prior to Season 2. After ignoring the backlash from a disgruntled audience following the disappointing Season 2. After that, Netflix continually ignored Henry Cavill when he internally and very publicly stated,
For me, it is all about the books. I'm always of the mind, if it's not broken, don't try and fix it. And I don't think they're broken.
Henry Cavill had finally had enough, and on October 13, 2022, he left The Witcher. Then on June 29th of 2023, we all found out why. The Witcher Season 3 Part 1 featured more girl bosses than you can shake a box of wine at. Fan favorite Yasker is back, and this time, he's gay.
I am not gay. I have relationships with women and sex with men.
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
Incidentally, we're still waiting for the Dan Vass cover from this season, and if any Witcher fans had any doubt prior to Season 3, they won't after watching it, because this is clearly Yennefer and Ciri's show, The Witch Her. Season 3 Parts 1 and 2 were based on the book A Time for Contempt, which is strangely appropriate because showrunner Lauren Hissrich and her patriarchy-smashing on-crack team of writers clearly have contempt for the lore, men in general, and The Witcher, who in Season 3 Parts 1 and 2 appears on screen in less than 25% of his own show. When Henry Cavill's Witcher does appear on screen, he's sitting down and talking, sitting next to beds, dancing, or asking for Ciri.
Where's Ciri?
The only monster he fights on his own is made out of fleshy girl bits with detached heads that look like testicles, which is probably some intersectional feminist allegory for the subjugation of women. To be fair, that argument can be made for the rest of the episode, all of Season 3 Parts 1 and 2, all of Season 2, and hell, Season 1. The Witcher does have one more battle, a beach-off with Vilgefort, which sidelines him for the final 2 episodes. And Henry Cavill, possibly the best casting choice for a fictional character in a Hollywood production in recent memory, because he played the Witcher games, read the Witcher books, and respected the Witcher lore, is unceremoniously saved by a woman in his final skirmish over a girl getting her doll stolen. And it should be no surprise that The Witcher lost 30% of its audience from Season 2 to Season 3 Part 1, and then lost another 30% between Season 3 Part 1 and Season 3 Part 2. And unsurprisingly, the audience scores cratered on Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic. All this happened despite Lauren Hissrich begging the fans to come back after Henry Cavill left, and throwing his replacement, Liam Hemsworth, under the bus with a billboard that says, yes, he's still Geralt in Season 3, and then retweeting it from the Witcher account. And the pride of Poland is turned into a fanfic intersectional feminist fever dream reflecting the Los Angeles that the writers live in today. Recently, Witcher author Andrzej Sapkowski came out and admitted that Netflix never listened to him. That's obvious, but don't feel bad. They didn't listen to Henry Cavill or the fans, and now they have a dead show. Number 5, the Doctor Who 60th Anniversary Specials.
So, this species only communicated with their eyebrows. And I went, I mean, you know, heart. I come in peace. I am your friend.
Can you pass the potatoes, please?
Doctor Who remains the worst case of franchise-aside in entertainment history, taking the iconic Doctor, a well-established male character, and turning him into the first female Doctor played by Jodie Whittaker.
Don't be ridiculous, Franklin. I've read the files. The Doctor is a man.
I've had an upgrade. Hi.
And that was only the beginning, and by the time the first female Doctor played by Jodie Whittaker's disastrous run was over, the Doctor was no longer from Gallifrey, and the first Doctor was changed from William Hartnell to this little girl.
I believe I can fly.
And unsurprisingly, the ratings cratered. The fans left in droves. Jodie Whittaker and showrunner Chris Chibnall were sent packing, and Doctor Who was almost canceled again. But then, in the 11th hour, there was some hope. Fan favorite Russell T Davies had been hired to return, and he was bringing David Tennant and Catherine Tate with him. This would begin with a set of 3 60th anniversary specials. Had the BBC learned the error of their ways? Would this be a return to form? Would these specials be a fun, thrilling celebration of a show that has been a part of British culture for almost 6 decades? Or would they ally themselves with Disney and turn the Doctor Who 60th anniversary special into insufferable propaganda?
Yes, the Meep. I promise I can help him get home and then you'll never see me again.
You're assuming he as a pronoun.
Sorry, good point. Are you he or she?
My chosen pronoun is
Beep Bop Boo.
I'm sure showrunner Russell T Davies and his Disney Doctor Who pals are well aware that the Doctor Who fandom would love to see the Doctor reunite with possibly other Doctors, other companions, and go up against villains like the Master, or the Cybermen, or the Daleks with Davros. Well, we did get to see Davros, who can walk now because he was cured by political correctness.
There's a problem with the Davros of old in that he's a wheelchair user who is evil. And I had problems with that, and a lot of us on the production team had the problems with that, of associating disability with evil.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I say, this is how we see Davros now. This is what he looks like. This is 2023, and he looks like this now. And that we are absolutely standing by.
And it was all downhill from there. Instead of the Doctor reuniting with fan-favorite characters like Captain Jack, we are introduced to Donna Noble's daughter, Rose, who we are told is beautiful.
The most beautiful daughter in the world.
You look absolutely gorgeous. She looks gorgeous.
Does she look gorgeous? Yes.
She's brilliant. She's got this beautiful daughter.
Okay, I get it.
And one of the biggest disappointments is one of the many crimes against imaginations these specials commit. When Russell T Davies went back and undid one of the greatest stories ever told in modern Who, the Dr. Donna, and sacrificed it to the gods of identity politics. And bringing back David Tennant just so they can kick dirt in the Doctor's face.
We know everything. Thanks.
And you know nothing. It's a shame you're not a woman anymore. She'd have understood.
We've got all that power, but there is a way to get rid of it. Something a male-presenting Time Lord will never understand.
Instead of finding out what happened to Gallifrey, we learn that the Doctor is gay again.
Was it me, or was Isaac Newton hot?
He was, wasn't he? He was so hot. Oh.
And if that wasn't bad enough, Russell T Davies reaffirmed the lore-destroying Timeless Children retcon.
You don't know where you're from.
How do you know that?
And if things weren't gay enough for you, we have Neil Patrick Harris's Toymaker doing a musical number. And the regeneration of the Doctor has now been retconned into a bi-generation, real subtle. And now there's 2 versions of every Doctor, not 14 Doctors, countless Doctors. The lore is turned into gobbledygook. The stand-in for the older audience is the David Tennant Doctor, who is retired, and the Shooty-Gatwa Doctor is off in search of the mythical modern audience, who never bothered to show up. And according to the ratings, which went down each successive episode and were barely above the disastrous Jodie Whittaker era, It showed that the older fans who you told to fuck off did, and the big Disney Doctor Who rebirth ended up being an exhumed, defiled corpse. It took a little over 5 decades to create 2 versions of the greatest show on the planet and a few short years to kill it. Rest in peace, Doctor Who. Number 4, Secret Invasion.
Yo, Gamble, somebody here for you. Motherfucker, it's no time to gamble.
You wanna know how I got these scars?
What started out as just another abysmal and forgettable D+ show turned into unforgettable character assassination and the very definition of the MCU. If it wasn't bad enough that we learned in Captain Marvel that Nick Fury lost his eye to a kitty cat and named the Avengers after Carol Danvers' test plane, well, Disney Marvel wasn't done destroying his character. The Nick Fury from the comics was a veteran of foreign wars and a super spy. The Secret Invasion comic features the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Avengers, and the Inhumans. The Nick Fury in the MCU is a pencil-pushing fraud.
When I came here in 1995, you were just a benchwarming nobody in a dumpy field office in S.H.I.E.L.D.
You got any more abuse you want to hurl my way?
And just in case you didn't notice, the writers of Secret Invasion wanted to remind you, Nick Fury is black.
Going for a walk. You going for a walk in Moscow at night? Oh, you're gonna stand out.
The Secret Invasion in name only on D+ features a gaggle of girl bosses leading around what is now the famous Disney trope, the sad and broken legacy character. And it won't be the only one on our list. The show is a sequel to Captain Marvel without Captain Marvel that will lead into the true sequel to Captain Marvel where she was demoted in her own sequel. It also features our villain Gravik, the genocidal Skrull who wants to exterminate the human race because Nick Fury broke a promise to him when he was 9.
A little shit.
Rounding out the cast, there is Nick Fury's wife, Priscilla, the Queen of the Desert Skrull, who is allied with the genocidal Gravik, but she seems far more concerned with Nick Fury loving her for her true self. You picking up what I'm putting down?
It is man.
And in true MCU fashion, Ben Mendelsohn is back as Talos, who somehow managed to get 1 million Skrulls to immigrate to Earth behind the super spy Nick Fury's back. And then he's unceremoniously killed and replaced by his much more capable daughter, Gaia, played by Emilia Clarke, who manages not to change her facial expression for the entire series. Then, because apparently there wasn't enough girl bosses in the MCU, we have Olivia Colman playing a girl boss. But there are some men in the cast. Or are they? James Rhodey Rhodes returns, played by Don Cheadle. Except it's not Rhodey, it's a Skrull, and not just any Skrull, a female Skrull.
God, this is such a confusing erection.
But that's not all. According to series director Elise Salem, James Rhodes has been a female Skrull since Civil War. Meaning James Rhodes doesn't know Tony Stark is dead, he wasn't at Tony Stark's funeral, he wasn't at the battle at the end of Infinity War, he wasn't at the battle at the end of Endgame, and he wasn't in this scene in Falcon and Winter Soldier. But he was on this very hospitable planet in Endgame.
This is the promise. While you work to keep my home safe, Carol Danvers and I will find you a new one.
After Nick Fury supposedly breaks the promise to the 9-year-old to find him a home, Gravik gets angry and hatches a plot to start World War III and steal the Avengers' DNA, which was conveniently collected by the super spy Nick Fury into a single vial. And then the technically advanced Skrulls, who are capable of interstellar space travel but still can't find their own home, not to mention the fact that one of them has actually been on a hospitable planet, decide to make a magical bullshit machine that will infuse them with the Avengers' DNA that was conveniently collected in a single vial. And it works so well, it passes on things like tattoos and rings. And because this is the MCU, the final showdown is not between Nick Fury and Gravik, it's between Gaia and Gravik. Now, Gravik and Gaia as Super Skrulls possess all the powers of the Avengers, including the OP Captain Marvel. You would think they would be evenly matched despite the obvious size difference. But this is Disney Marvel, and Gaia wins easily with her masturbation arm. This makes her the most powerful superhero and the poster child of the MCU. And it should be no surprise that Secret Invasion was the lowest rated Disney Marvel show on D+. So, after breaking a promise to a genocidal 9-year-old boy, getting Maria Hill killed, remaining sad and broken, all while embracing his strange kind of love. Nick Fury fucks off and leaves behind a million angry Skrulls on a destabilized planet to go into number 3. The Marvels.
We have a sold-out show, and I'm about to surprise the fans. I hope they recognize me.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to welcome you all. So are you excited to see it, or like no? Anyway, I won't keep you any longer. Enjoy the movie.
Show us your tits.
Blackout magic!
Despite Captain Marvel making $1 billion, benefiting from being sandwiched in between two of the most anticipated sequels of all time, anyone with a slightly above room temperature IQ knew this was fool's gold. Because as sure as the sun is gonna rise in the east and set in the west, as sure as the Rings of Power Season 2 is gonna suck, and as sure as Movie Bob's gonna have a bad take, we knew the Marvels would flop. It was just a question of how badly. Now, there were a lot of warning signs, including the continually lowered box office projections, as well as Disney Marvel trying to trick people into the movie theaters with this trailer.
We destroyed Thanos. But it's not over.
My work is inevitable. There will always be more to finish it.
This is just the beginning.
Excuse me.
And on the weekend of November 10th, 2023, we found out. Indeed, shocking news, The Marvels was the most unanticipated sequel of all time, where the titular character was demoted in her own sequel, a film that required a lot of homework. If it wasn't bad enough to rewatch Captain Marvel, you were also required to watch 3 Disney Plus shows, WandaVision, Miss Marvel, and Secret Invasion, and unsurprisingly, 3 shows no one watched led into a movie no one watched. The Marvels opening weekend was the worst debut in MCU history, and for the unfortunate few who actually watched this, you understand why.
How long will you play Captain Marvel for?
I don't know. Does anyone want me to do it again?
Don't be so modest.
I don't know. I really don't know.
The film features star of multiple canceled comics, Captain Marvel, and another star of multiple canceled comics, Miss Marvel, and Monica Rambeau. All 3 have vaguely defined energy powers that range from omnipotent to useless. And our 3 females are up against another woman who just so happens to have vaguely defined energy powers that range from omnipotent to useless that come from a bracelet. Yet another race and gender swapped character from the comics, Dar Ben, who comes off as a soccer mom who has a side gig selling crafts on Etsy, cosplaying as Ronan the Accuser, who will now be known as Woman the Accuser. The Marvels can be summed up like this.
Suck. Suck. Suck.
After Woman the Accuser stole the plot from Spaceballs, 4 women fight over accessories.
Women!
And because there wasn't enough diverse women in this film, we get cameos from King, Valkyrie, and non-binary. Sure, there are some men. Nick Fury returns to herd cats and become comic relief. There's Prince Yan, who's featured in a musical scene that makes you want to stick sharp objects in your ear.
My princess from the
Stop.
Ha! Gay!
And the rest of the male cast is Body Positivity Personal Assistant and Man Bun Personal Assistant. A film experience best summed up by the Irish Times. The Marvel Cinematic Universe disappears up its own black hole. All brought to you from a director that was cast and not hired, who left the project early, and is a writer of fan fiction, Nia DaCosta. And after opening to the worst debut in MCU history, the Marvels had the worst second week drop in MCU history, and the massive cope ensued. Nia DaCosta tried to blame the toxic fandom. The Access Media tried to blame YouTubers. Bob Iger tried to blame COVID and lack of supervision over the female of color director you hired, Bob. Shame. And although everyone in woke Hollywood wants to, you can't blame men, because it turns out that the movie made by diverse women, starring diverse women, wasn't watched by any women. And after 4 years since its predecessor, multiple reshoots, and a budget that ballooned over $300 million, The MCU goes down in flames. The Marvels was not only one of the biggest flops of 2023, where it had a lot of competition, it was the worst flop in Marvel Cinematic Universe history. Things got so bad for Disney Marvel 3.5 weeks into the Marvel's release, they decided to stop reporting the numbers. And after looking at the box office, you understand why. A film that couldn't even pass $100 million domestically and barely pass $200 million internationally. It's one thing to make an intersectional feminist fever dream that's ultimately a bad movie featuring characters no one cares about, starring an actress who's a vapid narcissist.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
It's another thing to destroy a beloved character. Number 2, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Can we have another bottle of wine, please?
It took just over 10 years for Kathleen Kennedy's Lucasfilm to kill the Star Wars franchise and just one film to do it with the beloved hero of Generation X, Indiana Jones. In March 2016, when Indiana Jones 5 was announced, it was met with a collective,
Why? Why? Why?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
What?
This time around, there would be no Steven Spielberg or George Lucas. Still, Harrison Ford was back, John Williams was back, and Kathleen Kennedy was back to the franchise where she made coffee. Indiana Jones 5 was to be helmed by prolific director James Mangold with an over $300 million budget. What could possibly go wrong?
Harrison Ford has suffered a shoulder injury while working on Indiana Jones 5.
It turns out everything, and the first sign of trouble was the casting of one Phoebe Waller-Bridge. The woke Hollywood critical darling is famous for the nihilistic intersectional feminist show Fleabag. You might also know her as the robot who had sex with Lando Calrissian and the woman who killed James Bond. Shocking. Another bland, brunette British woman in a Kathleen Kennedy Disney film.
There was no one else we had in mind. We were only writing it, thinking of her voice.
Another sign things might be going wrong over at Lucasfilm is director James Mangold having a complete meltdown on Twitter and attacking fans, including blocking me. Then Disney did the inexplicable. They released it at Cannes, where it was panned. Could Indiana Jones and the Diapers of Destiny be a flop?
I don't care.
Following this, Disney and Lucasfilm did the most ill-advised thing of all, releasing the film. Serving up the Disney trope of the once-beloved hero turned into a sad, broken old man who's going to pass the mantle to the far more capable girl who's the key to everything. And Harrison Ford has completed the bad dad trifecta. Han Solo was a bad dad, Rick Deckard was an absentee father, and now Indiana Jones is a bad dad. The one good thing to come out of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull was its ending, which is now completely undone. Indiana Jones is sad, broken, possibly alcoholic. His son is dead and he's been served divorce papers. Fun!
Oh my God.
It was only a matter of time for Kathleen Kennedy to get around to destroying Indiana Jones, and our expectations were not subverted.
Was there a chemistry test? How did you get to know each other?
I met her in the street. She was mine for the price of a drink.
Wow! But the worst crime against imagination, aside from this film actually being made, is having Indiana Jones being led around by an insufferable feminist in a boring movie. The film centers around an insufferable feminist and Indiana Jones trying to chase a MacGuffin, the Antikythera mechanism, and keeping it out of the hands of 5 or 6 Nazis who want to go back in time and reboot the Fourth Reich. Indiana Jones and the Diarrhea of Destiny's plot can be best summarized like this. An insufferable feminist and Indiana Jones race against time to save Hitler. And no, we are not kidding, that is the premise of the film. Showing that even the best directors can forget to be talented when they work at Lucasfilm, the boredom is only broken up in this over 2.5-hour movie filled with CGI bloat with the occasional annoyance, which is mostly due to Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
This relic is my property.
It's not yours. You stole it.
Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
Don't you love it when a multi-billion-dollar international corporation that spent $300 million on this film alone and is so far in bed with the CCP they thanked a concentration camp in China calls out capitalism?
How did you end up like this?
I mean, resourceful, daring, beautiful, self-sufficient!
I can accept a bunch of angels coming out of a gold box and melting Nazis. I can accept Indiana Jones, Willie Scott, and Short Round jumping out of a plane in a raft and surviving. I can accept a 900-year-old knight in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I can even accept Indiana Jones surviving an atomic explosion in a refrigerator. But there's no way you're going to convince me Phoebe Waller-Bridge is beautiful. And by the end of the film, Indiana Jones just wants to be left behind to die, and so does the audience. Then he gets slapped by the insufferable feminist, which represents Kathleen Kennedy slapping every fan of George Lucas and his works in the face by destroying every last vestige of George Lucas's legacy. The only thing that's slightly less believable than Phoebe Waller-Bridge being beautiful is how Kathleen Kennedy keeps her job. Disney and Lucasfilm have pulled off the impossible. They made an Indiana Jones flop. And while Indiana Jones and the Insufferable Feminist was the most vile desecration of a beloved character in 2023, you can make things better by repeating after me. There are only 3 Indiana Jones films. Before we get to number 1, dishonorable mentions. The Flash. Rumored to be one of the most expensive movies Warner Brothers has ever made, turned into a catastrophic flop that not even the return of Michael Keaton's Batman could save. After this humiliating disaster, the only question left is, what should Ezra Miller be in jail for? The multiple assault charges or this film?
I'm transgender, non-binary, and I don't want to be searched by a man. I claim my 4th Amendment rights.
Robin Hood. A race and gender swapped Robin Hood fights for the right to steal from the rich, have multiple sexual partners, and become an influencer. A series so bad, showrunner Director X decided to bait YouTubers so it would get some attention.
This guy Az, heels versus babyface. And I subscribe to you. You look goofy. What a whore! She's a whore like her mom! What? Bro, you sound crazy. You sound crazy.
On the subject of race swaps, let's go historical. Cleopatra. According to the Netflix documentary, Cleopatra, the last Egyptian queen, was known to be Macedonian, Greek, and Persian, but now apparently she's black according to some woman's grandma.
I don't care what they tell you in school. Cleopatra was black.
Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania. Paul Rudd needs the help of 3 women, an old man, and some communist ants to go up against the new big bad that will take the MCU through the foreseeable future, Kang, played by Jonathan Majors.
The actor was found guilty of misdemeanor assault and harassment for attacking his ex-girlfriend and then promptly dropped by Marvel Studios.
Ahsoka. After the complete destruction of George Lucas's Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy goes scorched earth, bringing back former Jedi Knight and Dave Filoni blow-up doll, Ahsoka Tano. Along with her female force, they set out to build a new matriarchy where women are free to cross their arms, have staring contests, and search for balls in an ongoing mission to usurp Luke Skywalker's story.
Seasons came and changed the time. When I grew up, I called him mine. He would always
when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win.
Play bang bang. He shot me down, bang bang. I hit the ground, bang bang. That awful sound, bang bang. My baby shot me down.
It was the fuck-aroundest of times and the find-outest of times for Tinseltown. After a tumultuous previous few years showing Hollywood was already in decline, including, but not limited to, the death of the celebrity, the decline of the award shows due to obnoxious activism, declining linear TV ratings, abandoning viable revenue streams, like licensing, and the theaters to go all in on streaming, losing billions of dollars on those streaming services, losing billions of dollars in stock, and billions of dollars in box office revenue. Vapid annoying adult pretenders, alienating half the country with insufferable corporate activism. What's a struggling industry to do? Well, in 2023, Tinseltown decided to put its nose to the grindstone and show us that they could lose more money than we can possibly imagine. Despite the massive success of Super Mario Bros. And Barbenheimer, it was all undone by doubling down on the activism, burning billions, churning out horrible content on unprofitable streaming services, which were losing millions of subscribers and contributing to billions of lost dollars at the box office and on stocks. The entertainment capital of the world was experiencing a little shrinkage, and they weren't taking it very well. It was the year the streaming bubble burst, the year of the flopbuster. Then the impossible happened. Hollywood gave themselves yet another grievous mortal wound and did the world a favor. They stopped working. That's right, the Writers Guild of America and the Film Actors Guild, the major contributors to Hollywood's death spiral, decided they needed more money and went on strike. And the timing couldn't have been worse for them and better for humanity. So while the people who make up the pretend and pretend in the pretend fight the people who pay for the pretend during the summer of the flopbuster in peak television, all while squabbling over a shrinking piece of a shrinking pie. And what of the audience and the paying customers that Hollywood took for granted? What were we plebs to do? Well, we were stuck with things like podcasts, YouTube videos, video games, books, music, friends, family, going outside, and 100 years of superior television and film. And for almost 6 glorious months, the world began to heal. There were no insipid late-night talk show hosts pushing propaganda. There were no adult pretenders on the red carpet or promotional tours regurgitating divisive politics they learned from their assistant who learned it from TikTok. No, content had to speak for itself, and it did, with flop after flop after flop after flop after flop after flop. Bad news for Hollywood, great news for the human race, and it doesn't end there. Thanks to the strike, a vast majority of the crap streaming shows and potential flops were delayed till 2025. Still, woke Hollywood finds a way. While insufferable talk show hosts weren't allowed to work, they decided to start a podcast.
I tried to get a vasectomy while we've been on strike this summer.
Why?
And thanks to the weaponized autism of the internet, older clips resurfaced of what would be the new queen of woke Hollywood, Rachel Zegler, who pulled off the impossible. She didn't just alienate half the audience, she alienated the entire audience.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated.
That it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
What did you mean by that?
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story. With a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
And after the strike, the actress who participated in the attempted canceling of Jeremy Renner and Gina Carano changed her tune. And again, that is one of many self-inflicted wounds. While Rachel Zegler is the actress who represents everything wrong with Hollywood, she works with the company that's everything wrong with Hollywood, Disney. After Bob Chapek was fired in the middle of the night on a Sunday, Bob Iger's triumphant return has turned into nothing short of a catastrophe. And now the weatherman has to lord over the failures he created, including the continuing problem of Kathleen Kennedy still having a job after killing Star Wars. Then there's the issue of the company that champions women is now being sued by a lot of women for not paying women. And of course, when Bob wasn't paying women, he was firing them, like Victoria Alonso, along with everyone else in massive layoffs, including Ike Perlmutter, who came back with Nelson Peltz to possibly start a proxy war. And when Bobby Iger wasn't fighting with the state of Florida, pissing off stockholders, alienating half of the country, and betraying the core customer of the Disney brand, the family, he decided to step back in the culture war by trying to stay out of the culture war, all while losing mountains of money on flops like Indiana Jones 5, The Haunted Mansion, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Little Mermaid, Wish, and the Marvels. It was bad enough they put all their eggs in the Kang basket, and Jonathan Majors was arrested, tried, and found guilty, and then ultimately fired. No, the biggest failure for Disney in 2023 was the mighty Marvel Cinematic Universe being killed by the now publicly and widely acknowledged MCU.
Now, I'm sure you've heard the term MCU. It's being used by some fan communities. And yes, the term is extremely offensive, but it's also becoming undeniably true.
And this all happened on Disney's 100th anniversary. And because the universe tends to unfold as it should, Disney's worst year ended with 2 flops, Wish and The Marvels. They got completely roasted by South Park.
I swear, the multiverse is just an excuse for lazy writing. Yeah, it's like every damn movie now. Why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse? It's like, it's not our fault, it's because of Kathleen Kennedy. But then Kathleen Kennedy says, put another gay diverse woman in it, make it more fun. And then Bob Iger is all like, no, what's going on with my stars? No, Kathleen Kennedy.
And if that wasn't enough, Bob Iger started a fight with Elon Musk.
You stopped advertising on X.
We did.
Tell us about that decision.
And by him taking the position that he took in quite a public manner, we just felt that the association with that position and Elon Musk and X was not necessarily a positive one for us, and we decided we would pull our advertising.
Who gave us the greatest moment in recent internet history.
Go f yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
And all this would be bad enough if it wasn't for the culture war. And now Disney is worried that woke is ruining their brand after consistent flops, and the same could be said for woke Hollywood.
And I think, honestly, Hollywood's shook. I think they're shook. I think they see the hypocrisy. I think they see the double standard. And I read this somewhere. It's like, don't try to ruin my life with lies when your life can be ruined with the truth.
That's our list, folks. The top 5 woke Hollywood disasters of 2023. Tinseltown's worst year in generations was also the year woke Hollywood failed. And that's a good thing. If you don't agree with our list, please let us know in the comments section below, or better yet, write your own. Please like, share, and subscribe, and you can enjoy another video right now.
Nerdrotic.com.